I found a couple of things, clothes, a diamond ring, in the back of a cupboard. Inside a little box, memories of us I'd yet to rediscover.
Well, Big D, we were talking earlier about highlights of Tamworth. One of my highlights of Tamworth every year is going to the Academy show. And our next guest is joining us right now, Michelle Cashman. Thank you very much for joining us. And I think you're probably wondering where I'm going with this.
I have no idea, but I'm always willing to go with you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Look, one of our highlights every year is going to the Academy, but there was one song that just dropped everybody, that a pin could have dropped, and that was when you got up and you sang Praying for Rain. Now, that was co-written with Melody Moko during the Academy?
Yeah, it was.
It was incredible. Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure.
So how long have you been on this journey as a country music singer and songwriter?
Oh, on and off for 20 years.
And how did you get started?
When I was little, I used to always force my family to watch me sing. Like, I'd stand up on the coffee table and sing Bette Midler songs and make everyone stare at me. And then as soon as I got my hands on a guitar, so my uncle had one and it was just on the wall, and I'm like, can we put strings on it, please? And we took it down and I learnt, 3 or 4 chords. I think I played my first song was my own. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I started writing really before I started performing with the guitar. And then I sang on stage at Jim's country show at Huskisson Bowling Club, and I sang The Rose. It was the only thing that was even remotely country, and it still wasn't country. And I shook so badly that, I'm even blurry in the photo, and I'm pretty sure because I was like vibrating. So then I just kept doing it. I don't know what possesses someone to be that terrified and go back and do it again and again and again, but I did, and I kept writing, and now I'm finally putting those songs out into the universe a bit more.
And what about when you first hop onto the stage these days? Do you still get the pre-song jitters, like the pre-performance?
Oh, absolutely I do, but I've realised that excitement and terror feel very similar, and I've also learnt instead of shaking or doing anything sort of visible, my hands tend to sweat. Oh. And your body sort of learns to handle it better, I guess. As soon as I open my mouth and that first note comes out, something happens and it just goes click, and then I'm in this whole other world, and yeah, I love it.
The song we're focusing on tonight is Guys Like You. Is this personal experience? Is it a collection? Talk us through about the song and the process of getting to it.
I would call it a collection, I guess. What triggered it? So I don't have my own experiences. I grew up when I was a child and was exposed to a fair bit of domestic violence. So I have that first-hand visual of how that all goes down and how, a kid can be affected by it. And then as a young adult, I had my own experiences with a few different guys who were not very pleasant. But thankfully, I guess I knew what it could lead to, or what could happen if you just sort of let that stuff slide, and I left anyone that was going to treat me like that. But then, about 8 years ago, I think it was, I still remember where I was standing. I was in the living room in my apartment in Surrey Hills, and I was on the phone to my auntie, and she told me that a mutual friend of ours was experiencing domestic violence, and every cell in my body was screaming like, no, get out, like just leave. And of course, knowing full well that, if you just force your opinion about someone or their situation onto them, you often get the opposite effect. They dig their heels in, or they get defensive, or they shut you out of their life. So when they do need that support because they've made that decision to leave for themselves, they've burnt their bridges a bit, So I just thought, well, what can I do? What can I do with this? And it just sort of went, sit down, and 20 minutes later, Guys Like You was born. People say, how long does it take to write a song? And I'm like, about 36 years, 30 years of life experience, 20 minutes to write it and 6 years to record it.
People are going to hear this song, and if someone is being affected by a case like this, are they going to feel this song run through them?
I would hope so. What my deepest hope is anyone, man or woman, who's in a toxic relationship, who feels like this is their song, this is the song they blare while they pack their bags.
You worked with Michael Carpenter on this one. What's it like working with Michael?
I love working with Michael. Like, I absolutely love it because the egos leave the room. When we get in there and we start working together, we chuck ideas around. He really listens to what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to achieve, because I usually go in there with some form of vision for the song. I will say to him, I don't care if it's a number one song. I don't care if anybody else on the planet likes it. I've got to like it, because if I like it, then I'll be proud of it, and then I will listen to it. And ultimately, it's a lot of work for me to not have that result for myself. Let's take all of the commercial sort of side off the table and let's get this sound that I really want. And then we kind of bounce ideas off each other. And he might say, oh, what about this? And I'm like, no. And then he's like, okay, well, what about this? And I'm like, yes. And it's because we are able to communicate like that, and just, he'll say, no, let's try this, and we'll just go with it and try anything until we get that, yes, that's the one, let's do that. And, and being able to fire off at each other like that to get to the end result, I think, is a really important part of it, because if it didn't work quite like that, I don't know if it would work at all,
Michelle Cashman, we're going to play this single. If people want to follow you, they can do it all the social medias, websites, all of that. It's Michelle Cashman, and this is the single. It's called Guys Like You.
Girls like me don't need guys like you to make us bitter. Girls like me, we don't need guys like you to hold us down. We don't need your love, don't need your